there are many things, obviously, to take away from Galatians. For me, looking at chapter 3 again was very important. I see a lot of people talking in different ways about faith and obedience and stuff. It was really great to look at that and see what was going on there. Chapter 1, of course, Paul defines his ministry as an apostle, and, it came from Jesus Christ. There's some beautiful language here. The end chapter of this, the end, this last, 8 verses is just awesome. It's so beautiful. Another high point would be, there is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither slave nor free. There is neither male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. It's really awesome.
Did you feel like there's anything personally that you learned as far as, the law and grace, any more clarity to that issue?
It seemed to expand upon the things that I already thought of. I already thought more than anything.
Yeah.
It's always one of the things I was lucky enough to learn was very early in my Christian walk is that justification before God is about faith. And really, if you look closely, it's always been about faith.
Right.
Abraham was justified by faith. The law was there as a schoolmaster, as Paul says, to teach us, that, we can't do it through the law.
Right. I was just thinking about that today. And of course, in chapter 3, he goes through this incredible study of the Old Testament, showing that the justification by faith was, from Abraham. And he goes through this incredible study about it. It really seemed exactly like that it was always like that. The old covenant was there, this eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, and everything that went along with it was kind of there to keep them morally straight. I mean, it really would separate them from everybody because they had a system that would inherently keep them moral apart. I mean, it was incredible deterrence.
assuming they followed it.
Well, yeah. Well, if they didn't follow it, they were, off
totally
the heads,
immoral.
basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was, and he kept saying that whenever he would, just again reading in Deuteronomy today, it would say after, an execution sentence, this is what you do, and if they do that, they're done, and it would always say after that, this is how you're going to be made, pure, or something like to that effect. I can't quote it, but there was some sort of addendum to those things, sort of saying this is how we're going to, keep you guys sort of separate. But obviously the new covenant, and that's exactly what that was. That was a covenant. It's like in this covenant, it's almost like this is going to hold you guys over, and while we accomplish this whole grand scheme. And there was another covenant, and this new covenant is essentially the same thing. It's all about your heart, and even the sacrifices and everything else was about, in a lot of ways about, as it was pointing to Christ, showing them the importance of the heart, showing that something innocent had to die for their sins. It was a traumatic experience for them, and for it was just a very learning experience. I think that it's such a beautiful way that it's done. I mean, it's obviously perfect in its construction, and once you start to really dig into the text and to dig into the symbolism of all of it, it's just immense. It's inexhaustible how it's just all pointing to grace, and just over and over. And in my personal, study of Galatians and everything, it got really intense as we were progressing through this. That's exactly what it's all about. It's about you are, if we took one thing out of it, it was the scanner. If you're justified, by definition, you're justified. You're okay with God. It's a straight line. It doesn't have any ups and downs depending on what you're doing, and that is a pretty important thing to take with us, because there's always Satan that's trying to capitalize on every stumble or fall that we have. And if you're truly in Christ, that's the difference. If you stumble and fall, you hate that stumble and falling. It affects you like in a way that no unconverted person could ever be affected by it, because they feel so. It's a different sort of. It's not guilt. It's a different thing. It's almost sorrow for failing your Lord, And he uses those failings, I think, even in this, to teach us to not stumble. Even our stumbles become used by God, I think. That doesn't mean that we don't strive to with all of our heart and pray to achieve the very standard set by, like, the Sermon on the Mount. I mean, that's the bar, and I think that there's nothing less than that we're required of, in a sense, and that's why he set that bar. And I think that it is something that, as you begin to be changed and your separation from the world and everything starts to happen, it's like you start to desire that walk more and more, and it's something that you can do on a daily basis with his help, because the Spirit is something that its progression in your life just begins to be so tangible. As you get further and further, it starts to be more noticeable and more noticeable. So it was a pretty thorough and study, and I'm excited to figure out whatever book we're going to be doing next. So just stay tuned with us. You can go to iTunes and you can download our archives at versebyversebibleteaching.com, and we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.